For analysis, let's turn to Ronald Hampton. He's the former executive director of the National Black Police Association and a retired Washington, D.C. Metropolitan police officer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first, I'd like to get your reaction to this study. And given your experience as a police officer, does it match what you and your colleagues have seen and heard in the community? Is this reality?
I don't know about my colleagues, but I know that race has been an issue in gun ownership and gun rights for a very long time. And if you happen to belong to the majority and you have treated them unconscionable, you would want to keep weapons out of their hands in case they decided to rebel. And so because that they've been the ones that's been the masters, the plantation owners, the enforcers of racism, black codes, and across the board, then restricting the right of enslaved people to own guns, it would be a natural reality. So, of course, that's been going on all along.
You know, this is a complicated issue because gun laws vary from state to state, jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Do you think there is a racial difference in going through the process of obtaining a gun, also getting licensed to carry? There are so many different steps and requirements. So what are the barriers for non-white citizens?
Well, I think it is a difference. Now, it probably isn't anything that's going to be obvious, but it's going to probably be some under the table covert kind of things that's going to appear and restrict African Americans from owning guns and owning or obtaining an open carry permit. And, you know, in the world where we live in now, where the overt racism and discrimination is going to not be tolerated, you know, I can't imagine that white folk really like the idea that there's an African American gun organization in this country. But that in America, where you can own it as a result of the Second Amendment, then they have to tolerate that and put up with it. But there are individuals that work in government who control whether or not you get to have a gun in your house or in your business, or whether or not you get to walk around with a gun in a holster on your belt. There are people in government who probably don't like that, and in their own way, they're going to do what they can to stand in the way of you getting it done. But what you have to do, like some of the interviews that I heard, is that you got to raise the question of equality of rights. You have to raise the Second Amendment. And if you want to carry a gun, have a gun in your home, then you have to be willing to go through whatever it takes in order for you to get it. But you also have to be realistic. There are going to be some people who don't want you to have a gun, who don't think you ought to have a gun. And that exists.
Ronald, we have about 45 seconds left. There is also a difference in ownership and going through that process versus possession of a gun. We know that Washington, D.C. has some of the toughest gun laws in the country, but there are guns you could just find anywhere. Is that a legitimate fear in this, or is it simply a perception? I mean, how is racism linked to lower support for gun rights when you have this issue of having people with illegal guns?
I don't know what the push and pull of the issue is, but anytime you have a desire to get a gun and there's an illegal market, the legal market for guns is very limited. I mean, very similar to the illegal market to get drugs in this country. And if you want to get drugs, you get drugs. If you want to get a gun, you get a gun. But if you want to go through the process of getting it legally and owning and possessing it legally, you can do that too. But in no way does that compete with the other market. We have seen that now in this whole attempt to legalize marijuana. As much as they have legalized marijuana, the use, who can grow it and all of that, there's still quite a healthy, illegal marijuana market. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but that's the way the reality is in terms of our society.
Ronald Hampton, thank you so much for sharing some time with us. We'd love to have you back on to discuss this further. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.